All right, so today we got some important stories to talk about. But before I get into that, we do have numbers out of Alberta. Um, they were up slightly again, but it definitely looks like the numbers have peaked. It definitely looks like the numbers have plateaued, both for Canada and to a lesser degree the states. But I'm not 100% sure about the states yet. But definitely for Canada. I mean, Alberta. The numbers were still relatively high, but they definitely came down a little bit. The hospitalizations are down a little bit. And the other thing, too, is that you look at the testing. 10,600 tests on the 24th, 9,800 on the 25th, and about 7,400 on the 26th. So the testing was up by quite a bit. I mean, we had a day of over 10,000 tests. We had a day of almost 10,000 tests. So that is a lot of testing. I mean, for the last few months, we've been doing 6, 7, maybe 8,000 tests, a day. I've seen days even lower than that. So we tested a lot of people, but the numbers weren't even up. In fact, the numbers were actually down slightly, at least compared to the last week or so. So that's very good news. And like I say, it's the trend is pretty clearly that the numbers have peaked. But again, that's not for sure. But like I said, the good news is the hospitalizations are down. The active cases are up, but not by as much as they were before. So that's good news. You look at the other provinces, Ontario, the numbers are pretty steady. And it's like I say, too, I've been pointing this out to for about a week now. Toronto's had their mandatory mask laws for about 3 weeks now. And there still hasn't been a clear downtrend. There, honestly, the numbers out of Ontario are pretty much steady. And now I don't know what their testing numbers look like. That could play into it, but the numbers are pretty steady. Like Ontario over the last month has been in that 100 to 200 cases pretty well every day. In fact, I think pretty much every day. So, and again, the numbers haven't gone down. They haven't gone down clearly. And maybe the testing numbers, but again, those same people that would point that out would ignore that data out of Alberta. So again, it's kind of a contradiction if their testing has gone up. But nonetheless, Ontario numbers pretty much the same. Quebec, the numbers are pretty much the same. They're actually up slightly, um, as far as things go. But again, it's not really like a massive amount. So that's basically the numbers out of Canada. And like I say too, there's still no clear evidence that the whole mask laws have anything to do with the spread. And if they did, the numbers out of Ontario should have gone down already. And I mean, here's my prediction too. It's the same prediction as far as the lockdowns to begin with went. Is that the lockdowns clearly had no effect whatsoever. At the most, a very small impact on the spread. A very small impact at most, because it took like 6 weeks for the numbers to trend down. So again, the maximum 2 week incubation period, you should see a downtrend after the third week, but there wasn't. The numbers peaked after like a month. Again, so there's no evidence the lockdowns work, and it's the same thing with the whole mask stuff. Is that my guess is that the numbers will trend down in August and September. They may trend back up again at some point, but they're I would be shocked if they don't trend. I mean, they have to trend down at some point, right? And what's going to happen is everyone's going to be like, see, it's the masks that did that. But the reality is that they were already trending down. It's the same thing with the lockdowns. That the pro lockdown people think that the numbers trended down because of the lockdowns when there's no correlation between it. Again, so that's my prediction. Look out for that. Within in August, I'm sure we'll be hearing all about, the numbers have trended down because of mandatory masks and all this garbage. When in reality, that's BS. Again, the numbers out of the states were down a little bit yesterday as far as cases and deaths. So again, that's very good. All the people paranoid about the states, again, they're just paranoid. So getting into the big news, at least that I wanted to talk about, is at a BNO newsroom, and they say breaking hunger caused by the virus and its restrictions are leading to the deaths of 10,000 children a month, the UN estimates. And then Six Hexenhammer here on Twitter responds by saying, lockdown supporting Karens hate African children. And again, that is a little hyperbolic, but it's not that far out of the realm. And that, again, this is. I remember talking about a news story literally at the end of April, early May. I don't remember exactly when it was, about how the UN estimated that around a million, 2 million people were going to starve, or they guess literally millions of people would starve because of the lockdown restrictions, and now they're saying, yeah, 10,000 a month, and that's just children, right? Like that's not including adults. That number's probably double to triple when you include adults. And not to mention too, that's not even including all the increased malnourishment, all that kind of stuff, to where people are going to die a lot sooner. They're going to have a lot more negative health effects down the road because the negative health effects of the lockdown again. So whenever you hear the pro lockdown crowd talk about, oh, we're saving lives, even though there's no evidence that their policies save lives, even if you want to give them the fact that they're saving lives, point to this again. Point to this. Does saving? I mean, you look at the numbers out of Sweden. They didn't close down, and their numbers are only a little bit more than the world average. I mean, there's a handful of countries in just Europe that had worse numbers than they did. And not only that, I think about 10 states per capita had worse numbers than Europe. And my guess is that Ontario and Quebec had worse numbers as well. But I'm not 100% sure about that. But again, Sweden, again, never closed down. And there's tons of areas that they always point out the fact that they're a little worse than the average. But what they don't tell you is that there's a lot of places that are worse than them still. And again, no one is saying that there's no downside to not closing down. No one is saying that. What they're arguing is that the downside, it's a typical cost benefit analysis, that there's going to be more negative effects from locking down. And again, here it is. So all the people that say, oh, that have the stupid pearl clutching garbage of, oh, we're saving lives by supporting lockdowns and all this garbage. No, you're really not. If anything, you're killing more people. So again, just point this kind of stuff out when they try and get on their high horse. And this is from Brian Dean Wright on Twitter, and he responds to Shelby Takot, and this is just after 9:30 p.m. in Portland, July 23rd. There's at least 2,000 in this crowd already. More continue to arrive. Again, this massive mosh pit of thousands of people in Portland. That's perfectly fine. But then, like you say, these are the same people that say it's impossible. Same crowd that says it's impossible to open schools, to open small businesses, all this kind of stuff. Again, these people have zero credibility. Again, whenever you hear the pearl clutching Karens of the world, that are talking about, oh, we can't open schools safely because one person in Canada under the age of 20 has died, and all this garbage that they talk about, get their opinion on this kind of stuff, because and this is the reason why I pointed out, is that 90% of the pro lockdown, we can't open schools crowd support these protests. So again, that is a glaringly contradictory position. You have to have it one way. Either nobody gets to gather in crowds or everybody gets to gather in crowds. Again, so just point out their blatant hypocrisy. And now they won't change their mind too, because their entire worldview is based off a contradiction. They'll never admit it, but at the very least, you can get closure that you should never trust those people because they're insane. And Dr. Fauci threw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals game a little while back. And then after he was sitting in the stands watching the game with, I don't know who that is, but he wasn't wearing his mask, or at the very least his mask was pulled down, and he wore it for the first pitch too, to kind of put on a show, even though he was around absolutely no one. But then you see him in the stands with it off again. So these are the same people. Oh, we have to wear masks and all this garbage. But the reality is that most of these people, they don't even believe in their positions. And if they don't even believe in their positions, why in the world should we? Like, why in the world should we believe in their positions if they don't even believe in their positions? Again, so it's just something very simple and obvious to point out. And the last thing I wanted to bring up here is from Pierre Poilievre, and he says the average Canadian would notice if a $41 room service charge was missing from a hotel bill. Bill Morneau expects us to believe he racked up $41,000 in accommodation / travel without noticing. By the way, this man is in charge of the nation's finances. Scary again. And not to mention too, the vast majority of liberals just completely trust these people. Again, he just didn't even notice $41,000 that he charged to the Canadian taxpayer. he didn't even notice it. And this is the guy that's running Canada's. He's the finance minister. He's in charge of the finances. Like, how in the world can you look at someone with a straight face and argue that this is the right thing and that we should be trusting these people? Like, I really do not get it. Like, I really don't get it. How people can look at you with a straight face and tell you these people are doing a good job and would do a good job. So uh, anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Again, I appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And last few things, check me out on Twitter, PayPal, not PayPal, Parlay, and BitChute. All those links are in the description, so you can find them all there.